Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to episode 28 of Monorail Memoirs. Today, we'll be discussing what it's like to be planning a Disney trip with a big group. I don't have any friends, and so I wouldn't know what it's like to plan with a big group. It's usually just me and my wife. Lauren, you have friends, so what's it like planning for a big group? We'll get into it more in detail afterwards, don't worry. But before we get started, as always, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. And I have been admiring your shirt. What sort of shirt is this? It's lovely.
It's a shirt purchased from a shop.
Is it a Disney shirt? Is it not a Disney shirt?
It's a
No.
shirt purchased
Oh,
from
I
a
like
shop. I mean, I like the fact that we think we can get away with it being a Disney shirt, but I promise you it isn't. It's a shirt from a shop, the shirt shop. Now that we've had our usual introduction, the way in which this is going to work is, so because Lauren has experience in doing planning for big groups, I'll ask some questions that I think the listener will be interested in, and she will give some detailed answers. But Lauren, just to give a little bit of background then, so when was the last time you had to plan for a big group?
Yeah, so I left planned for a big group in 2024, January 24. So around about sort of 18, well, it'll be more than 18 months ago
Near
now.
2 years.
Yeah, it's almost gonna be 2 years. So I went with my family of four, so me, my husband, and my two children. For context, my children are very young. So they were kind of 18 months old and sort of around 3 when we went, so very, very young. And then our cousin came with us, and my two really good friends who were also godparents. Everyone that I brought was a godparents. They kind of couldn't get out of looking after my children. um, so yeah, went with overall 5 adults, 2 children, and we kind of stayed in a villa off-site. That's kind of our main kind of premise.
So thinking about that then, accommodation, how do you go about deciding what the best accommodations to do? Because I know that last week we spoke a little bit about one of the benefits of staying off-site is you can plan for a bigger group, but that doesn't narrow down. How do you actually decide where you're going to end up staying?
Yeah, so I would say that probably that was the trickiest part of planning for a big group, because you want to kind of accommodate everybody, and I mean that's going to be impossible when you're going with a big group. Some people are going to have to bend and flex for their preferences, or just everyone book separately and meet up at different times. It's kind of one or the other, really. You're never going to get absolutely everything that everybody wants. Someone might be going for a better budget, someone might be going for a better pool, someone might be going for proximity to the parks. So if you are coordinating all that, you kind of need to take everything into account and get the best fit for everybody, which again is quite difficult, especially if you come with your own kind of wants and wishes. You've got to be mindful that you're not putting that above that of the group, because at the end of the day, everyone is paying their equal part. So that is a really big juggling act. But for the accommodation, I would say we kind of said what our main priorities were. So everyone kind of said, at the top, what is it that I want? And a lot of, for my friends, was kind of quiet area with a pool. So I didn't have a lot to consider, but yeah, sometimes it can get a bit sticky.
I think one of the things that's interesting for me is, and we'll get into group dynamics afterwards, because I think that really will matter. But did you give any consideration at all to staying on Disney, or was that a blanket straight out the gate? No.
So I did do a price comparison. So obviously I was Camp Villa, because I know what I'm doing. I know it like the back of my hand. It's, as I say, it's everything that I've ever done growing up, really, from being very, very little. We did do a few kind of hotel stays, but that was few and far between. It was mainly villas. So that is my comfort. That's where I feel safe. We did look at Disney, but just because of the price, it was just so undoable, especially for some people in the party. A big consideration, especially for us, was there's going to be 4 of us, in my little family. And staying on property was just a big expense that we couldn't justify. Some people weren't really fussed. They were like, yeah, sure, we'll stay on property. But the price just completely squashed it out the water for us, really.
That's fair, and we know that it's much cheaper to stay off-site. Depends. You could probably spend more if you wanted, but most of the time, if you want the budget-friendly option, staying off-site, which then takes on to the next question. Then, so obviously you spent the time in Disney. I know that some of you went and did other stuff, but you spent time in Disney. Coordinating getting those tickets. How does that work?
Yeah, so I basically paid for my family, and I just said to everyone else, this is how I've got my tickets. You know, because you don't need to go through the official Disney site. There's lots of other different sites that you can go through. You know, kind of look for the best deal out there. There's lots and lots of different websites that you can go through. So I just kind of sent on our group chat where I got my tickets, and then they then subsequently bought their own tickets, because it isn't kind of you need to get the same one. It was fine to just, you know, everyone do what they wanted to do. The only sticking point is when it comes to flights, because you kind of need to be on the same flight.
Yeah.
So what happened was I went on Skyscanner. Some people might not be familiar with Skyscanner, but I love Skyscanner. There are plenty of other operators out there. You know, that's not the only one out there. But I find it really good for comparing different providers of flights to destinations. And I said to the group chat, basically, we had everyone on a call. I live did the Skyscanner on my laptop, and I said, right, so the best price that I can get is for this date and this date, the times, how much it was, and everyone gave the green light. So then everyone, whilst I was booking it, transferred straight into my account, and I just bought all of them.
It's interesting, just as a sidebar, you said that there are other comparison sites available. So the three big ones being sort of Skyscanner, Kayak, and Booking.com, they're all actually owned by the same company. So you think there's more choices than there actually are. Yes, this is true. And there's a side, now that the UK has basically had to use VPNs for reasons that we won't get into here. But the point is, you can get sometimes regional limited discounts. So different parts of the world can get different discounts for going elsewhere. So make sure to shop around on that front. But you're right, the flight coordination would be key. Different, of course, if you're all intending on meeting up there separately from different starting points, but with you all starting at probably the same place, it made sense to all travel together. You can take me on to my next point then, because we at this end, we love doing different food and dining options. But how are you going to go about approaching 7 different people when it comes to eating?
Yeah, so we did a similar thing to what we did with the villa. We did a preference list, essentially. So everyone got to choose one thing that that was their must do. You know, I am going to America, I want to do this. So a lot of people had the same thing on their number one, but we tried to make sure we accommodated everybody's number one. Some people weren't fussed. They just wanted to go along for the ride, and they were like, I am happy with anything, provided I'm in Florida, I'm all good. So when you go with people that are very flexible, it is miles easier. People that understand that you aren't magic, you can't wave a wand, even though you are in Disney, you can't make things happen, you can't make a reservation at a certain place happen just because you're booking it as a party. You know, there needs to be that bend and flex for your whole party to recognise that it's a big task to actually book for a lot of people. So we did an absolute must do and then a like to do list. And so we just kind of planned in ahead of time those restaurants or those experiences that everybody wanted to do.
Very democratic. Very democratic. It's very nice. Did you ever split up though at any point?
We did, yeah, which was difficult because we did only have one car and both myself and my husband as the only drivers. Because I didn't know this, but when we were renting the car, one of our other friends also drives, and she said she would be happy to be on the car, but she would only use it in kind of an emergency, you know, if she absolutely needed to. So when we got to the check-in desk, we were I wasn't going to go onto the car because I was always going to be with my husband, and we were going to put my friend on there in case she wanted to go elsewhere with somebody else in the party. And it actually turned out that if you are a spouse of the main driver, you can be on the insurance for free. So we were like, oh, okay. So then we rethought as a group and we said, actually, we don't want to pay the $25 extra a day or whatever it was to put our friend on the car, because she said it's only for dire emergencies. I don't want to spend $250, $300 on something that we might not use. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll be second driver. And so me and my husband just took turns. So that was where it was difficult when our friends wanted to do other things. So a couple of our friends got Universal tickets and Discovery Cove. So it was just about kind of planning that into our day. And to be fair, it wasn't much of an issue really, because obviously we had the two small children. We were taking things a little bit slower anyway.
Yeah.
So we would drop them off at wherever they wanted to be, and they just said, leave us for the day and we'll let you know when we're ready. And they fully expected to wait for a couple of hours when they said that they were ready to be picked up. They're very, very flexible. They were very good to go with. And they understood that we had two small children as well. You know, things need to bend and flex when you've got small children in your party. When it is all adults, it is a little bit different, I'd assume. So I think it kind of worked out for us, but that is a massive consideration on the amount of cars that you might get as to if you do want to split up and do separate things.
And worth pointing out, of course, it's $35 per car per day if you want to park around Disney if you're not staying on site.
So we just got a really big car, and we just crammed everybody into this big car.
That's fair. Did you do any actual dining then on Disney, or was that not the case?
Only quick service. We didn't actually do any city. Oh no, we did actually. Sorry, I tell a lie. We did Tusker House.
Oh yes, in Animal Kingdom.
That was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant because that was my must do, because I've never done it before. And my son is obsessed with safari and animals and everything like that. And I thought, all of the main Disney characters, you know, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Daisy, they were all dressed up in a safari gear. It was just perfect for him. And my friends were like, absolutely, because I said to them it was optional. You know, you can either stay in the park or whatever, but us four are definitely doing this experience, and everyone jumped on it. So yeah, that was a really lovely experience that we all had.
That's nice. That's really nice, actually. Good. One of the other questions that I had then is when it comes to the My Disney Experience app, because we know that you really can't do Disney anymore without using that. There is options to add friends and family, but I assume you were the coordinating central point for all of that.
I was indeed, yeah. So I got everybody's tickets on my phone. So the day that we got there, I said, right, what do you want to do? Do you want to have your own app and do your own stuff, or do you want me to just coordinate everything? And because everyone else didn't really understand it and they didn't know what they were doing, they were happy to just leave it to me. But what we did do, which was really, really helpful, a hot tip is you never, ever, ever get physical tickets anymore, really. When you're buying them online, it is always just a virtual ticket. Whereas we went to Disney Springs and we actually went to guest services and got a physical ticket for my three friends, so that if they wanted to stay in or if they wanted to park hop using Disney transport or whatever, they could. They weren't relying on me to have their tickets on my phone.
That's a good point. Or you can also just have it on your phone anyway, and you can still be the coordinating authority, and you know they can still have it. But you had a good point. You can in any Disney park or in Disney Springs go to guest services and still get a physical ticket, which is nice. The one thing that I want to sort of bring up, which is pretty obvious statement, but if I was to be doing the large group thing, I think there's just a few things around group dynamics I think are important. You know, be on time, for goodness sake, because it's important, because you know you're not the only ones that's going to be held up. Make sure you sort all your stuff out. We have a video on how to pack a bag appropriately to go to Disney, and I do accept that because there's going to be different people there with different objectives in terms of simply how long they can go for in a given day. You know, I can do 12 hours in the park and not bat an eyelid, but I can also go back to my room 20 minutes away on site and nap, but you know, whatever. So I do think it's quite interesting. If you were to give sort of two like headline points then when it comes to planning a big trip, what would those two headline points be?
Be kind and pull your weight.
Strong. Okay.
So the reason why I say this is it takes a very special friendship to be able to stand people for 2 weeks, essentially. You can go on a night out with a friend, or you can go shopping with a friend. It is an entirely different beast when you are in a foreign country, because, you know, the USA to me is a foreign country. You go into a foreign country, you're very, very hot. You don't know where you are. Tensions can rise. As I've mentioned, two small children can sometimes not cooperate. You just need to be kind and make sure you can stand that person for 2 weeks.
That is a fair assessment. No, I think that's really good advice. And what I would say is if anybody has any other points they wish to drop in the comments, please do so. Naturally, we have got a ticker going across the bottom of the screen. There's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's other stuff that Lauren does with her hands, or just waving, pointing. But as always, we thank you very much for joining us this week. It's a pleasure as always. We love doing this. We would do this for free. Oh, wait, we are doing. With that said, as always, please look after yourselves and please stand clear of the doors. Bye, everybody.
Bye.